Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our December General and Finance Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 9 a.m. I'd like to confirm that we do have quorum and all members of council are here. We continue to be in a hybrid situation, so we do have members of committee sitting around the table with us here today and some on Zoom. I'd like to also confirm we have our CAO clerk and members of our senior management team here present today. I'd like to continue to advise the public that if you would like to send in public comment, please send it to tmlpubliccomment@muskokalakes.ca. And for today, we have received none. Today's meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Township of Muskoka Lakes website and YouTube channel. By participating in the open public meeting today, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and posted online. I'd like to confirm that there was no supplementary agenda, and at this point would like to ask committee members if there's any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Councillor Nishikawa.
Yes, I have an pecuniary interest on 4B and 5A for Muskoka Community Futures, and I'm a secretary on that board.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Burry.
Thank you. I have a pecuniary interest on I think it's the 4B. I am a director of the Muskoka Community Foundation.
Okay. Okay, so 4B and 5A, I think. 4B and 5A?
I'm not futures.
Not future.
It's the same one. It's
Okay.
just that there's a report and a presentation, so.
Okay, yeah, I'm conflicted for both. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Send me
you.
the form, I'll fill it out.
Okay. I'm pleased to hear that. Thank you. Actually,
You
I
guys
think
miss
our
me
clerk,
yet?
I think our clerk is really pleased to hear that. Thank you. At this point, we'll move to our invited presentations, and I'd like to welcome our chamber, please. Thank you. Welcome, and thank you for helping us kick off the holiday seasons with our first presentation.
Morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair, Kelly, councillors, staff. I apologize for being underdressed. I'm not quite sporting the festive garb that many of you are, so congratulations on bringing the season. My name is Randy Hade, Chair of the Muskoka Lakes Chamber of Commerce, 3181 Muskoka Road 169, soon to be 3125 Muskoka Road 169. It is my pleasure to represent a very engaged board and staff in presenting the Chamber's Q4 year-end report. And thank you for inviting us. We are respectful of the 5-minute allocation and will move accordingly. The Township of Muskoka Lakes and the Chamber continue to work as partners to the benefit of community members. We work together to serve business by offering economic vitality, stability, opportunities for growth, and the chance to represent this amazing region. I say we because we are in this together. We share the same customers. We appreciate Township's support of $50,000, which contributes to the 4 pillars we have mutually prioritized with Township. Representing 16% of our operating budget, your investment clearly impacts return on investment. And I'd like to highlight some of these partnership results. Clerk, if we could please share the infographics. Thank you for this. There is a lot of information here. We do apologize. I hope you had a chance to review it prior to, but we do want to touch on some of the key pillars that we have worked on in conjunction with Mr. Cox and his office. Some of the highlights to report back on include primarily, number 1, visitor information services. Our team, supported by 2 additional seasonal staff from the area, welcomed over 100,000 walk-in visitors to the information center and the ballot kiosk. Visitor impact of $150,000 direct spend to our economy speaks for itself. That number is based on $150 spent per delegate, which is well below the research average, but we've gone lower than higher. And our reallocation to a premier location will certainly see an increase in traffic going forward. Secondly, our marketing reach increased 50% over previous year, with an advertising equivalency of $143,000. In addition to assisting many businesses with marketing initiatives such as digital transformation, funding mechanisms, and social media following, we increased development and distribution of the Muskoka Lakes Guide from 15 to 20,000 copies. Next slide, please. Thank you. Thirdly, ongoing events and promotion and support, and specifically event activation, represents business in a meaningful way, supporting township initiatives and driving off-season business. Almost 30,000 views of 1,600 plus posted events were achieved. Fourth, business support. We conducted 5 workshops, countless one-on-one consultations, spearheaded 5 business support meetings, facilitated 5 grand openings. Our ongoing commitment to workforce development and retention is widely recognized through our community. Over 15 business events welcomed well over 1,000 attendees, all from our backyard. The strength of the Chamber's ever-increasing membership support confirms the business community embraces the benefits and results achieved in collaboration with Township. Quick summary on that is on the bottom. Membership growth over the course of the 10-year period, you can see, has doubled in the last 4 years. Our combined efforts to drive economic growth and efficiencies make us more productive with happier customers who will continue to invest. 2025 plans are rolling out with great response. Business after hours events are booked for the year, and the one remaining session is under discussion with James and Norah for a collaborative event. We have AI and hiring for talent workshops confirmed and a new workforce development project underway. We have launched a new Lunch and Learn series in conjunction with the Bow Legion, which is fully subscribed through the end of January. Under the new MOU, business support shifts from priority 4 to the number 1 priority, which we are thrilled about, and we are perfectly aligned to work with Township to offer unparalleled support to our business community. One of the determining factors in new office space is to accommodate additional business consultations. We appreciate Council's critical support and look forward to ongoing partnership as we stand together. We wish Council a lovely holiday season and well-deserved rest and look forward to a productive 2025. Are there any questions or recommendations from staff or Council?
Okay, thank you very much. Committee, are there any questions, comments? Mayor Kelly?
Thank you. And through you, first of all, thank you and congratulations for the work that your chamber is doing. It's much needed, I think, perhaps now more than it has been in the recent past. But it raises a question for me, and that is, among your members, is there a common point of distress? Is there one area that needs attention more than anything else? And if it is there anything that this township can do to help it?
Thank you.
Right. Through you, Chair. Good question. I think the one area I would probably label as confidence. As the business community continues to bounce back from the dreadful period of COVID to ongoing times of perceived economic uncertainty, members come forward looking for assistance with skill set, with application, with funding mechanisms, with business connects, with the ability to reach out and utilize the resources that exist in this room. And I say this room because I refer to Township, but I refer to the resources within the chamber. We connect those resources, about 390 members who continue to increase the support. Our attendance at functions is increasing. And when I refer back to the one-on-one business consultations, the number of individuals and organizations, smaller than larger, come forward looking for guidance and support and assistance on the next step in business. So that when I say confidence, it's because there may be some lack of experience or lack of connect as to where to go. And I think there was a wealth of connect opportunities between the two groups.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you, certainly, thank you for the presentation, Randy and Norah, and of course, the chamber. I really did like what you had to say, and the content is very relevant to us here, you know, around this table. The chamber members are our taxpayers, and our audience is the same. And I think that does us well, bodes well to remember that and keep in mind that working together, I can see your initiatives are vast and fruitful, and I wish you all the best in 2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
to the
Appreciate
entire
that.
team,
Thank you.
and I wish you a safe holiday season. I think your move you were mentioning is next week to your new office. So we wish you logistically all the support and best wishes on that move. So thank you. We are now going to move on to items 4B and 5A. So I see Councillor Burry has left. Councillor Nishikawa, a moment. And as we just prepare for that, I think to introduce this, we're going to have Mr. Cox come back up, introduce the topic. And Ms. DeCaro, welcome. I see you in the Zoom room. And Ms. DeCaro is available for questions, comments, may want to speak after Mr. Cox. So I'll let the two of you kind of take the lead on this discussion. Thank you and welcome.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of committee. So my report and presentation this morning regards the Muskoka Community Foundation's proposal to create a Muskoka Lakes Community Fund. This matter, as Council will recall, was originally considered at the General Finance Committee meeting in October. And then at last month's council meeting, that matter was referred back to this body for further discussion. So as you'll recall, the proposed community fund would support projects and groups within the community with targeted grants. Projects would need to align with the community development and other goals established by the township and the foundation jointly for the fund. And granting decisions would be overseen by a grant committee, which would include representatives of both the foundation, the community, and the township. And the full breakdown of the proposal can be found in the report from October, which is linked in my covering report from today. So as outlined in the report, it's the opinion of staff that the proposed community fund would allow the township to allocate its grant funding more strategically, more effectively, and have a greater overall impact. The community fund proposal provides an avenue for growing the amount of funding that is available potentially for the community through additional donations from, say, the business community or individuals or other investments. It's also the opinion of staff that the continuous grant cycle proposed by the foundation would better meet the community's needs when compared to our current intake system for the community grant program. In the past 2 years, as committee will recall, the entire community grant allocation has been spent in the spring intake due to the pretty overwhelming demand for support that is out there. And as a result, we really had no recourse for groups that approached the township seeking community grant type funding later in the year. So at the October meeting, committee expressed some concerns that some of the groups that are currently eligible for support through the community grant program would be ineligible for support under the proposed community fund. And in our discussions with the foundation, staff have confirmed that there would still be some avenues for these groups to request support. In other communities, both in Muskoka and further abroad, where similar organizations have worked with municipalities to create these funds, any groups that are not qualified donees, as required by the legislation that we operate under, wouldn't be eligible for support directly from the foundation, but in those cases, the foundation could issue a grant directly to the municipality, who would then flow the funds through to the community group in question. And we believe that if necessary, a similar arrangement could work in Muskoka Lakes. That concludes my introduction on the subject. As was noted, Ms. DeCaro is here with us online and may have some remarks. And afterwards, both Ms. DeCaro and I would be available to answer any questions that committee may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. DeCaro, did you want to add to Mr. Cox's introduction?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I would just like to share our most recent experience with the Township of Lake of Bays. And I know in the fall, when I was speaking with all of you, I mentioned that we had just begun the process with the Township of Lake of Bays, and we were kind of in the middle of our first granting intake. So just some highlights that came out of that experience. We offered a 6-week intake period where organizations could put their applications together, reach out to myself if they had any questions, needed any help with the application. Throughout that 6-week period, we received 8 applications, and I spoke with a number of potential applicants. We then brought the grant review committee together, which consisted of 1 councillor, Mayor Glover of Lake of Bays, the economic development officer from the Township of Lake of Bays, as well as 2 Muskoka Community Foundation grant review committee members. We had fulsome discussions about all of the applications. We narrowed it down to 3 applicants that we felt best provided, the most impact in the community, and and also met the threshold of the granting dollars available. Some lessons we learned from that first intake. There were some tweaks that were definitely needed. So I'm working with the economic development officer currently to refine the application to make the eligibility requirements more clear. We're exploring the small community grants program. As Mr. Cox referred to, this is a way to support individuals that aren't considered registered charities, but still are providing impact in the community, such as service clubs like Lions clubs, those types of organizations. And we will then meet again in the new year to explore creating a possible bursary stream and following up with the applicants to see how their projects have unfolded, so that we can prepare a report to report back to the council to let them know the impact that the granting program is having in the community. It's really an exciting way to bring to keep those dollars in the community, to ensure that those organizations are using those dollars in the community. And so we're really excited about the reporting back and the sharing of the impact of those organizations.
Thank you. Okay, so committee. At this point, are there any questions? I see okay, I've seen 3 hands so far. I saw Councillor Roberts, Councillor Zavitz, Councillor Kent.
Thank you for your presentation, Lynn. I'm Gordon Roberts. I just have a question. You mentioned that in the Lake of Bays, there were 8 applications for possible grants, and that you were awarded to 3. Were the 3, I guess this is a two-pronged question, were the 3 registered charities?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Of the other 5, were any of those registered charities? If so, how many?
Yes, 1 other was, and then we had 4 applicants that weren't, although one of those applicants was associated, they were a working group. They were a separate working group, but they did fall under the umbrella of another charity. Okay,
so just one more question, if I may, Madam Chair. Of the ones that did not have any link at all to a charity, what were they asking for? I guess there's 4 of them. Can you remember what?
Yes, it was. Their ask fell more into the capital development. So they were looking for replacements of kitchen equipment in their group. One was a recreation organization. Others were looking for a ceiling fan to be replaced in a space where different groups met throughout the year. And so the grant review committee at that time felt those were more capital expenditures and didn't really demonstrate that more direct impact or delivery of services and programs in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you, and certainly a bit to Councillor Roberts' direction, but I mean, I'm hearing the words registered charities. Actually, in many of the examples in the previous uses of our community fund, those are really community service driven pieces like the Bala Santa Claus Parade or the Bala Trek to Bethlehem, people that are not a registered charity. And this is not a charity as much as it isn't. It's simply community, some sort of community service, some sort of a service where the community actually benefits, whether it's a Port Carling Santa Claus Parade, or et cetera. So I guess back to the beginning of this, and I haven't been a fan of this since it came forward the first time, although I was interested in it coming back a second time here and now. How has the fund grown or intended to grow beyond the $25,000 that the township allocates through our annual budgeting? And I guess comment to that question, will the community fund, I keep hearing this, I don't know it, will the community fund be adding to the funding of the 25,000 township is my first part of the question. Thank you.
Sorry, I want clarity, just that you started with the discussion on the service. So perhaps we can have, I think there might have been two comments or questions.
Yeah,
the first was,
sure, that was the clarification. How do we use, how does it get, how do we use it as a township? Because this hasn't been an issue. The allocating of the funds hasn't been the issue. I'm asking very specifically, will this fund grow through the fund in addition to our 25,000? Otherwise, we're simply giving them our 25,000 and asking them to disperse it. And I just don't see the need for that. We have James Cox standing at the dais and he's done an excellent job, and we as a council have directed it. So I'm asking the question, is the 25,000 that we have miraculously turning into 39,600 or 48,000 because of the benevolent factors associated with the community fund that we've been presented?
Okay, so so it's sounding to me the discussion on fundraising ability, perhaps a role.
No, not so much, if I might, for clarification.
Okay.
I'm simply saying, in their presentation on 2 occasions, they've indicated that they have in excess of, I don't know, in controlling of over $2 million and have had, anyway, and so over the years have been charitable. So does this mean...
let me ask Ms. DeCaro to respond then. Thank you.
Thank you. So, there's two ways to answer this question. So I want to make sure I'm giving you the answer that you're looking for. Upon receipt of any funds through the Township of Muskoka Lakes for the potential community fund, those funds would be invested and they would be recalled as needed. There are several factors in, do we have one intake of applications? Do we have 2? Do we have 3? Do we have different streams that have been created to address different projects or priorities that the township has? So those funds are invested. The second part about growing those funds, I think, does come back to one of the pieces that we mentioned in the proposal initially, is that there is that pathway now for donors to contribute to the fund and grow it. And that is something that we would want to do in partnership with the township. The Muskoka Community Foundation itself is not a fundraising body, but we do have a network of donors, and we know that the township itself has connections to possible donors, as do probably some councillors. And so that we would want to work with you to identify those potential donors, to see if they, feel the desire to commit to a community fund, to continue that impact, to grow the impact that different charitable organizations can have in the community. I'm not sure if that's answering your question, Councillor Zavitz.
Okay,
If I might,
Councillor
thank you.
Zavitz? Mhm.
Sure, thank you, and through you, of course. I guess it's not, and I guess more to the point, I'm looking for a mechanism. The reason I was interested in it coming back, because I didn't think we all understood it clearly, as if to say that there might be more to this, and I guess I'm with the decision that there really isn't. I mean, we only have $25,000, and anyone that's investing money these days, again, $25,000. I mean, the township can invest their own 25,000 and make it 25,900. But then, the whole point of this was to, in fact, dole out monies to those in need, or that we felt were in need, to the tune of $25,000, or it would be on our budget at $100,000 or $200,000. I'm almost seeing this community foundation as a separate piece that we should be discussing, or could be discussing potentially, for the greater good. This 25,000 seems to me to be, that's what I was looking for. You were going to turn it into 50. And if you could turn that into 50 with your own charitable folks that you have in your nest, then I would be supporting this wholeheartedly. Otherwise, I won't be supporting.
Okay,
I
so
just
we're
don't
still
think
in
it-
questions. We're still in questions, and I should have probably said that at the beginning.
Well,
So
my question is, what is the mechanism, Chair? What would the mechanism be for the Muskoka Community Foundation to grow our 25,000 to X?
okay,
'Cause
Mr. Carroll?
I haven't heard that. I've heard very most generalities.
Okay, Mr. Carroll?
As I mentioned before, it would be to work with those community members in the township of Muskoka Lakes who are looking for ways to use their donor dollars to contribute back to their community. And so that is the one way that we, as the Muskoka Community Foundation, would work with the township of Muskoka Lakes to identify those individuals, to help grow the fund, to build those relationships, to allow donors to know that their donor dollars are staying in the township of Muskoka Lakes, that they're impacting the communities that are special to them, whether they're seasonal residents, full-time residents, local businesses. And so that is the mechanism to grow the fund, as you mentioned, Councillor Zavitz, by doubling the impact. So that is the way to do that, is to reach out to community members, to donors.
Thank you. Councillor Kent?
Thank you. I've got two questions through you and to Lynn. Thank you, Lynn. I still don't, do you have any examples where you have actually grown people's money when you gave it to them? Number one. And number two, I'm confused by your comments about the not-for-profit charitable organizations. Would you, I understood that to be that there would be some of our recipients who would not be eligible under your granting program. And I'd like some clarity. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. DeCaro?
So I'll answer question 2 first, about the non-qualified donees. We are exploring a small community grants program within the township of Muskoka, within the township of Lake of Bays, because that was an issue that came up. There were a number of service organizations, as Councillor Zavitz referred to, that are doing really good work in the community, that are bringing community together. And so we needed to find a way to make sure that those groups were still included. So this is where we're working with the economic development officer to identify, first of all, how many requests on average come in annually from those types of groups. And then how do we create perhaps a separate application stream that is specific to those types of groups? And then how do we make sure that those funds are sent back to those groups? And so that can be done through the funds being returned back to the township of Muskoka Lakes. and dispersed to those community organizations. So they're still vetted through an application process, and they are still, required to do a follow-up report so that we can ensure that those donor dollars are being used as they were intended to be used. So that's question 2. Question 1, Councillor Ken, could you just repeat, Councillor?
Yeah, the question was, do you have any examples where you've helped one of the bodies like us or like a Bay or somebody raise their fund total from X to Y?
Yes, so this is, working with municipalities, with townships, towns to create community funds is new. We have only just begun, and so I don't have any concrete examples that I can provide and what exactly how that happened. One of the approaches that we want to take and what we've discussed with the Township of Lake of Bays is how can we identify 1 or 2 champions within the community? How can we demonstrate first the impact that these dollars are having in the community? How can we make potential donors feel a connection to their communities? And so it's going to take some relationship building, as we would do with any of our funds that are open to contributions from others. We work directly with the donor to identify how they would like to grow their fund. We support them in outreach and meeting with potential donors to make sure they understand the process and what they're contributing to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you very much. Are you involved in the community now, giving grants out in Muskoka Lakes?
We through all the grants that we award annually. I'm trying to recall if there are any specific programs in Muskoka Lakes. I mean, we have supported the food bank, the West Muskoka Food Bank, on occasion through some of our existing funds that we manage. Although we do support a number of organizations that would be considered to serve all of Muskoka, YWCA, Big Brothers Big Sisters when they were operating fully in Muskoka. So there are a number of organizations that do support individuals in Muskoka Lakes. Mind Aid would be another one. We've been able to provide grants to Watt Public School to help them support students who face financial barriers and can't participate in extracurricular activities taking part outside of Muskoka. We're currently working with the Discovery Center to ensure that some of the more rural schools, including the 2 that would be found in Muskoka Lakes, that they can take part in the activities held at the Muskoka Discovery Center. So I can't say that there are specific organizations doing specific programming, but we do know that many of the services that are provided by many of the charitable organizations do go across Muskoka.
Councillor Edwards.
I guess my next question is, like, if I wanted to support the food bank, I would give it to the food bank, or I'd give it to Andy's house, or I'd give it to any. What makes your organization different by doing that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Could I ask Councillor Edwards, are you referring to through the community fund mechanism or through the different funds?
Well, your organization, like if say I gave $100 to Andy's house, I know it's going to Andy's house. If I give $100 to you, where is it going? And that, like, why would I give it to you to disperse at this time?
Yes, so we have a number of individuals that will contact us with looking for opportunities to give back to their community. There are many times where I've recommended to an individual that they grant directly to the organization they're interested in due to the size of funds they have available to grant. Generally, the funds that we hold and the donors that have created those funds are looking for input back into how should they be granting out those dollars? Who are the organizations doing specific work that they may be interested in. So we're connecting the donor to those organizations. We're providing research on what organizations are working within sectors that they're interested in supporting. So there are times where it is recommended to a donor that they contribute directly to the charity. And then there are times that we explore the creation of a fund to help provide them with that service to vet organizations, follow up with organizations, perhaps look for innovative projects that a specific charity hasn't had the funding to do, but can now do through a donor.
Okay. Councillor Zavitz, another question?
Yes, a question to James Cox, if I might. Thank you, and through you, of course. So James, in your report today, which is a reinforcement of, I suppose.
Sorry, Councillor Zavitz, just give us 1 minute. Just, I was having a hard time hearing you. And not you, it's not you. There's an alarm going off, just. Thank you. Sorry, okay, Councillor Zavitz.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Through you to James. James, very specifically, your report again today. Now, this matter was voted on in the previous, in our previous one of our previous meetings, at least, and was actually rejected. And yet today, when I hear your report really is in favor. It seems to be in favor of it. Now, I know we always move to the affirmative, but
is there
my question is, let me get to my question. I needed a little preamble to in fact ask the question. James, were you considering any other type of program? I guess this almost says, that what we're currently doing is not working or could be improved. So James, I'm asking you, were you considering some alternative to what is in front of us now and or our existing program? Because you're in favor of
Mr. Cox
in the document.
So through you, Madam Chair. Yes, so in the report, there is an alternative option that we outlined there that indicates we could pursue a hybrid program where we could work with the community foundation to establish, to flesh out what the community fund would look like while we maintain our current community grants program. I certainly think that staff are in favor of doing a review of our grants program generally next year, both our community and operating grants. So there's definitely improvements that I think could be made to the program, and regardless of what council decides today, we would be undertaking that review. Of course, there are options to both continue what we're doing and explore the possibilities that have been brought forward to our attention by the foundation. Of course, the major limiting factor is that we have an allocation of $25,000 for community grants. As we've seen in the past few years, the demand in the community for support is substantial. In several of the past intakes, we've had to reduce the amount that is available to individual grants to satisfy that demand. And so certainly there would be the option to pursue this hybrid alternative should council wish to maintain the community grant program, but also explore the opportunities with the foundation.
Thank you. Committee, I do have a question, and then I thought I could read the resolution. You have a question as well? Okay, Councillor Bosemuth.
Thank you, through you, Chair. We've had a good your mic. Thank you.
We can't hear.
Yeah, got it. I wonder if I know it's in your report, but we've had a number of questions here that have broadened the discussion, and I wonder if you could just re-summarize for us the benefits to the community that you see this program for us.
Well, through you, Madam Chair. So there are certainly a number of benefits that came through in our initial analysis of the Community Foundation's proposal. It's already been discussed here today that there is the potential for the fund to grow beyond the municipal contribution through investments, through or through donations from businesses or private individuals. I think one of the major benefits that I see is the opportunity for us to be more focused and strategic in how we are allocating our community grant funding. Under our current policy, there aren't really any prioritization criteria. We don't have a mechanism to really assess the different grants that are different requests that are coming in. We have a broad sense of what we'd like to achieve, but we don't have those specific criteria and a specific set of community development goals that we want the fund to pursue. And so as a result, when you look at the applications that we get, we have applications from, nonprofit organizations, charities, again, like the YMCA or various food insecurity charities that operate across Muskoka broadly and Muskoka Lake specifically. But we also get, again, those requests from community groups who are looking for $500 to put on a community event or something like that. So I think working with an organization that specializes in both building and growing funds, but also in working with the community to identify their needs and develop a program that meets those needs, I think presents an opportunity for the township to be overall more effective in how we allocate those scarce funds, because we've seen that there is quite a demand out there, judging by the number of applications that we've been receiving overall. I also think there is an opportunity for us to, again, work with the foundation to develop a program that more effectively suits the needs of the township. As I mentioned in my remarks, we received, I believe it was 13 eligible applications in the last round of intakes, in the spring. And since that time, that fully allocated the fund. And since that time, I have received inquiries from, I would say, 15 to 20 other organizations looking to see if there was any support from the township. And we had to essentially say, no, we don't have anything that's available right now. You need to look either to the district programs, go to the community foundation if there's an opportunity there. We've had to send them other places. I think taking this opportunity to work with the foundation to develop a fund gives us the opportunity to meet the needs of the community in a more flexible way. I think those are probably the major benefits that I see in my analysis.
Okay, thank you. I have one question before I read the resolution, and this is for Ms. DeCaro. As I'm understanding it, the fund can have different streams as determined by our body and this working group. Are special projects one stream that can be considered, or do you have experience in that area? And I'm specifically thinking of initiatives in the community where they might be fundraising for, well, I'll be very specific, actually. I'm thinking about a playground, right? Is there examples of that? And is this a fund that can help in that regard?
Yes, Madam Chair. So that is something we can definitely set up. It would be a stream with, as you mentioned, within the fund, much like the small community grant stream or a bursary stream or regular granting stream. A special project stream does require a bit more care, and that we want to work closely with the township to make sure that there is a clear partnership that has been defined amongst between a community group doing a fundraising for, as your example was, a playground. We also want to take great care in working with community members that may be contributing to that playground, that they understand that should the playground not come to be for a variety of reasons, that their donor dollars would still work within their community. So if the playground was in Glen Orchard, then we would ensure that those donor dollars are still impacting Glen Orchard if for some reason the playground could not progress. But yes, we can do that, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, I will now read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that staff be directed to work with the Muskoka Community Foundation to develop a Muskoka Lakes Community Fund to replace the township's existing community grants program. And further, that staff be directed to bring the final terms of the Muskoka Lakes Community Fund back to committee for review and approval at a future date. So I will now open up for comments. Mayor Kelly. Councillor Burry.
Thank you, and through you. A couple of comments. First of all, this is an extremely light ask. We're simply asking for a resolution to direct Mr. Cox and Ms. DeCaro or others within each organization to get together and see if there's common ground that can come back in the form of a proposal for a foundation to work with the Township of Muskoka Lakes and make sure that the funding that's available to us is held properly, invested properly, and distributed appropriately. I mean, there's nothing final here. It's just simply an exploratory requirement or request to go ahead and see what we can work up in the way of a proposed relationship. Number two, and Chair Mazan sort of touched on this a little bit. I want to make it a little bit bigger. We live among the most, I don't know, the most generous taxpayers probably of anybody in any municipality in the country. And can tell you I've been approached more than once, and I think I've shared some of the approaches that I've had by people who are willing to step up with sizable pools of money to support a project, an initiative, some sort of community development endeavor, infrastructure replacement or repair. And I'm going to leave I'll leave the specifics out of it. And quite frankly, I don't know what to tell them. Mail us a check. We need to have a professional approach to working with people who are able to step up and are willing to step up and make available funding to help subsidize what we're collecting on the levy as we move forward and as we move into a fairly big story about infrastructure upgrades and repair. I think that in the absence of a relationship with something like the Community Foundation, we will not be able to demonstrate an ability to hold the money, the terms and conditions under which it might have to go back. People might need to put money up now on a project that ultimately doesn't come to pass. And I think Ms. DeCaro has lots of experience in building those kinds of gates and fences around potential donation. We are going to definitely have to show that while we're holding the money, we're being quite prudent in terms of how we invest it. And there is an investment committee within the Community Foundation that's directing that kind of activity. Absolutely no knock on our ability on economic development side of things to manage the process. But when we start getting into millions of dollars, and I've had offers of millions of dollars on certain projects that we weren't even really looking at the time. When we get offers like that, we have to up our game. We have to match the scale and the size of the opportunity that's being offered up with an ability to receive it, hold it, manage it, invest it, and do so in a prudent manner, if for no other reason than to continue to attract the kind of investment that I think is out there to help build our community. So I'm all in favor of taking the next step of coming back in a month or two with some sort of proposed relationship that covers off everything from how we're going to deal with non-charitable grants, how are we going to deal with donations, how does the fundraising work? It's really not a fundraising venture as I understand it. But you know, once we get this nucleus, if we get a relationship and we can refer people who are generous and inclined to deal with a combination of our Mr. Cox and Ms. DeCaro, I think we have a much higher close rate than we're going to have by just taking phone calls and saying, I really don't know what to do with this offer, because I don't. That's it for me. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Chair, I do have a supplemental question based on what the mayor had just said. I'm looking at page 10, but no one has to look at page 10. Would you just please read the resolution one more time to make sure I'm on the right understanding?
Okay, be it resolved that staff be directed to work with the Muskoka Community Foundation to develop a Muskoka Lakes Community Fund to replace the township's existing community grants program. And further, that staff be directed to bring the final terms of the Muskoka Lakes Community Fund back to committee for review and approval at a future date.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I must be looking at the wrong thing or something because it says, I see the words replace the township existing community grants program on page 10 of our agenda package. Did you use, I didn't
Yes.
hear you say replace.
Yes,
You
yes,
did?
yes.
Okay, so that's a whole different story then, because what our worship was just commenting, we need an avenue to bring these big chunks of money in that we can do something with, and I understand that and support that, but not at the expense of our current program. I did do a little research here, and the 13 numbers that Mr. Cox just mentioned, most of them were very simple little requests that community members, which I have done before I became a councillor, could quickly sit down and put a very organized ask in for it. And I'm looking at this year, we funded the Aspen Valley Wildlife Sanctuary. This is just summarizing the Ballot Community Garden, the Glen Archer Public School for something. We sponsored, we gave money to the Ringette and the Skating Club and Safe and Quiet Rigs. Those are just a few of them, which are little bits of money that really help out this group. I exchanged emails with staff, and I've learned that it's costing us approximately 2 weeks of effort to run the community grant program, which isn't a lot, because I know if we do pass this on, we're not going to have any staff savings here, because we're just going to, transfer that 2 weeks or whatever over to the proposed new program. As far as donations go, there's multiple examples in our larger urban centers where the community has stepped up with donations to the community. I know that from my community, there's going to be a lot of hesitance to hand it off to another group that would be managing that money. We do have an offer in Windermere in our ward for $70,000, which is a lot more than $25,000 that we have put in the grant program. And I just wondered if, would they be acceptable to say, well, if we don't do this, your $70,000 will be used in Windermere in some way. I feel the donors will keep coming out. I feel it's important that we have that what the mayor just talked about. I'd like to have that avenue, but not at the risk of what we have now. So I don't know whether it can be changed or the resolution. So we set up this for big donations. So thank you.
Councillor, I see that your hand is up, but I just think because the question came back to Mayor Kelly, I'll let him respond and then I'll come back to you. So Mayor Kelly.
Thank you, and through you, and just specifically to Councillor Roberts' comment, I must admit the language in the resolution gave me a little heartburn as well when I first read it, and I don't think it would be any less effective if we remove the reference to the community grants program and if we remove the word final from the last line. There's nothing final about this. It's a proposal to revisit in partnership, right? I guess that's the wrong word, but in conjunction with the Muskoka Community Foundation to revisit how we handle the disbursement of community funds. And it will cover everything off. But what happens if a donation is made to X and X doesn't happen? Does the money go back? How does it go back? How quickly does it go back? How much of it goes back? All of those things should be covered off. But I think we're guessing now what would be in it. I think that the logical step for me is to ask, at the very least, Mr. Cox and Ms. DeCaro to go away and come up with a proposed a relationship with the foundation that allows us to continue the good work at the smaller level with economic development related investments or payments, as well as to focus on bigger ticket things and community community service type donations. I think that if the language is hanging you up, I'm happy to talk about that.
Thank you. And sorry to be a bit distracted here. I think there is an opportunity for us to reshape the actual resolution. So hold on to that thought. But before we get to that point, Councillor Kentz has her hand up as well.
Thank you. I would just like to play devil's advocate a bit. I personally am not in favor of this unless we have a plan that says we're going to grow this fund to $250,000 or $100,000 and set it up as a real charity. And I don't know that that's the business that the township needs to be in. So that's why you might offset it to somebody else. You know, from my perspective, at a $25,000 number, we've spent more time now on it than we should have spent. Okay. There's a fee involved with this, which is unnecessary. We have James. He's doing a very good job allocating the funds. There are applicants who won't be able to qualify. And there's no plans, you know, with this organization to grow the fund. So unless you come back with a completely revamped vision of a charity organization that has plans in place that are specific to grow this to be a sizable thing, you know, $100,000, $250,000, some number that makes a difference. Why would we invest any money in our $25,000 that's oversubscribed and a non-issue from a staffing perspective and a cost perspective? So unless, and I'm happy to send people off to go do the work, but unless they come back with something that's substantive, non-exclusionary of the people we have already participating in this program, and in effect saves us money to create a bigger goal, I don't see any reason to change what we're doing now. That's my personal view, and I think that it's a, you know, go off and investigate it, but I'd hope they'd come back with something more substantial than a $25,000 fund that requires nothing from us to invest to people who really need it in the community. We're not getting enough value. Anyway, that's my view, and I know there's a few others who actually agree with some of my thoughts.
Okay, so I'm hearing some general interest. I see your hand up. Just a second, Councillor Edwards. I am hearing now that there's interest in at least exploring. I think that's what I've heard, but some good questions that have come out of the conversation. And I think that's the next step that I've heard from Mayor Kelly and from Councillor Roberts, and even Councillor Kent just was suggesting that coming back and let's open the door and say, how does it look from the township perspective to perhaps have a hybrid, which I think was in the alternate section of your report. So Councillor Edwards, I do want to give you a chance to have a comment. Perhaps after that comment, what we can consider is if there is a different amendment to the current resolution.
Okay, the only comment I have on it is I want to protect the organizations that are not registered for charitable donations. This does not do anything for that. If we look at what we would pay for the fee for this as well, over the last year, and maybe Mr. Donaldson could say, when was the last time we raised the rate to 25,000? I think it's been going on for probably 10 years at least. If we were going up 4 or 5% every year, we could give more money out. And that this is one of the things. I think the community organization that looks after the registered charities, they can do that. It's the small ones that's like, as it was said, and that you turn around, you get people going to put $70,000 to $75,000 in, ask for matching. That is something. I don't think if they were giving it, I remember when we built the health hub, and that what we did is we set up a bank account in here, so all the donations went into it, and it was built. The same with Andy's house, and that we hired professionals to help us raise money after we spent about $15,000, and them just saying you have to work harder to get it. We parted ways with them, and that if you have citizens that want to invest in that, they'll work and they will make it come through. That's the only thing I really have with this, because I don't want to see it that if you're not a registered charitable donation, you don't get anything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So if I can ask if you could give us, Councillor Zavitz, I apologize.
thank you, and through you. I mean, before you do the resolution or an amendment to a resolution, I think you're looking here you're hearing from 4 councillors that definitely want to preserve that 200 or that $25,000 in the ways that we have thus far. Clearly, from the mayor's perspective and others, and I certainly understand, it's there should be I think part B to this, which could well be, how does the township assist in moving large funds that the mayor is talking about identifying? But I think the 25,000, if it gets caught in this resolution and we vote to put it aside and not have it again, I think that'd be a travesty. And so, I'm going to be in support of what you've heard from the other councillors, which is, the 25,000, as far as I'm concerned, is sacred. It's $1,800 for this and $400 for that, but it helps all of our social community groups in mental wellness, et cetera, et cetera. I can't say enough. I don't care what we do with the other piece, but the 25,000 or whatever that number is should be sacred. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I come in this meeting not really supporting this, but and that's the beauty of this round table, is that we get other feedback, which I'm encouraged with what we're going to do. I want to remind everyone that we give more than $25,000 in grants. We quite often, one of my pet peeves, and maybe the program doesn't handle it, throughout the year, we have people coming into this chamber. We have one on this agenda asking for relief. So it's just that I'm supportive. What really struck me here was that whole idea of big chunks of money that we're unable to manage. And we, I heard from Mr. Cox that they're going to look at the whole grant thing because I had some ideas there. So I'm encouraged for that. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to speak twice.
You're very welcome. We're just trying to help shape a path forward here, and under the guidance of our senior staff here, if I could offer that we could amend the resolution to change in that first sentence, remove the word replace, and insert in its place work in conjunction with. So if I can read that statement, it would be it resolved that staff be directed to work with the Muskoka Community Foundation to develop a Muskoka Lakes Community Fund to work in conjunction with the township's existing community grants program. Okay. And then the second part of that resolution would say, and we could be removing the word final. And it would then read, and further that staff be directed to bring the terms of the Muskoka Lakes Community Fund back to committee for review and approval at a future date. Councillor Roberts?
That's really good, but could you also maybe append to that staff come back with suggestions on how the current community grant program could be tweaked? Maybe that's too much in one resolution, but
I believe staff is already, they're already doing that. So I think that that's not needed in this particular resolution. Councillor Kent?
I think that it needs to be an additional line that says that they will come back, staff will come back with a thoughts or a plan on how to grow. If this is what we're trying to do and we move it away from the township, I'd like to see a plan for how to manage the growth of this to a larger number, whether that be through in-house charity setup or however they do it. But please tell me how you're going to make this worth our time by becoming a bigger fund. So I'd like the plans of that for that, the expansion of this program built into this when they come back. Because otherwise we're going to stay right at the same point where I say, well, what's the point of doing this if it's not going to grow to $100,000 or $250,000 fund?
So I believe that staff has been capturing that as well as a number of other considerations. So I can see staff as well as Ms. Carroll are making notes. And the intention of the resolution is that they would be capturing our discussion today. Like similar to other projects, they will come back and then we will have a chance again to look at it. So there are other components as well that have
Just
been brought up
explicitly-
from other committee members today.
I'm just
So I think-
explicitly asking for that they come back with a plan to, how to resolve Mayor Kelly's concerns about somebody walking in with $100,000 check. What do we do with it? So I want that to be part of what they come back with. Otherwise, I think the conversation is too limited.
Correct. And I think that is captured in the resolution. So
I didn't
I'm getting.
hear that. I didn't hear that in the resolution.
Is there a need for the specifics, CAO Pink, or do you believe that the staff has direction?
Thank you, through the chair. I believe the resolution as drafted as amended would capture, I think, Councillor Kent's questions or concerns. I think, again, the direction we're hearing from committee is fairly clear that we're looking to develop a program with the Muskoka Community Foundation together with an enhanced or our existing community grant program. So we will come back with those details.
Okay, thank you. I think I saw your hand up, Councillor Bosemuth. I was going to read the new resolution, but this is the amendments, though. So just if you do want to have a final comment, then I will read it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this has been a very useful discussion. I think my initial understanding was it was sort of like a replacement for something we already have. But if this is also an opportunity to have more engagement with our community, to get more money into this fund and get more things done, then it becomes very interesting, so I can support it.
Okay, thank you. So I will read this new resolution, which are the changes or the minor amendments that I was discussing earlier. Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that the word replace be struck out in the first paragraph and the following be inserted in its place, work in conjunction with, and that the word final be struck out in the second paragraph. Okay, seeing a nod of heads, I will call the question. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. All those opposed? Okay, that carries. Thank you. And then I will, how do I say this again? Okay, all in favor of the motion as amended. Okay, those opposed? Okay, seeing none, that carries. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody for your very engaged part in this discussion. And I look forward to a future report from Mr. Cox, Ms. DeCaro. You have your work cut out for you. You've heard from committee a lot of good questions today, so thank you. Committee, it is 10 after 10, so I am going to suggest we take our 15-minute break now and we will regroup, so that will be at 10:25. Thank you. Hey, everyone, welcome back. We are now going to be moving on to item 9A, and I welcome our Director Peroshi, please.
Thank you. The report before you includes the Integrity Commissioner's report for 2023 and 2024, as well as looks for authorization to renew the contract with Suzanne Craig for another 2 years. This 2-year extension would allow for the continuation through the next election in 2026. I'm here for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Committee, I do have a resolution, but before I read the resolution, are there any questions for Director Peroshi? Mayor Kelly?
Thank you, and through you. Does that include, or do we have the opportunity for any ongoing education type relationship with Ms. Craig?
Good question. Our original contract and the amount that we pay included one training session, which we've had here. And then we have one as a joint training session, which we had initially. She's always open for providing education. So if that's something that council's interested in, I can definitely contact her. It's something that she loves to do ongoing. So I'm sure she'd be open to that.
Yeah.
I think, and just a quick supplemental, if I may, thank you, and through you. Yeah, I'd be curious if she was here, I was going to ask, is there a common theme? Is there something that you think we could as a group, benefit from some additional training, education, enlightenment on? So if she could help us with that, we could craft some sort of program.
I'd be happy to take that back to her.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Kent. Whereas the provision of an integrity commissioner is legislated through the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001 C-25, and whereas Ms. Suzanne Craig is currently appointed as the Township of Muskoka Lakes Integrity Commissioner, and whereas the current contract is set to expire in April 2025 with an option to renew for 2 years, now therefore be it resolved that the contract with Ms. Suzanne Craig be renewed for a period of 2 years to April 2027, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign a renewal agreement, which is to the satisfaction of the Director of Legislative Services clerk, and that the Integrity Commissioner report attached as Appendix 1 to Staff Report LS-2024-037 be received for information purposes. Are there any comments? Councillor Roberts, Councillor Bosemarth.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, just picking up what the worship had mentioned about training, and I'm thinking I'd like to have a little more clarity and understanding on many councillors gathering together, more than 5 at a public meeting, and how we should behave in that forum, and what are the do's and don'ts. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bosemarth.
Yes, really a question for Ms. Peroshi. Is there a reason for us, for the term of the contract to overlap the end of this council's term?
Director Peroshi.
Thank you for that. A lot of municipalities do that just so that if there is something that comes up during the election period, that the Integrity Commissioner can see that matter through. So this would take us to April. So the election being in October, this would give us 6 months after.
Okay. That's right. Okay, any other comments? Questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That carries. All those opposed? That carries. Thank you. 10A. Chief Morrell. Welcome.
Sorry. Good morning, committee, and through you, Chair. Before you is a report that describes and asks committee to endorse an emergency management mutual assistance agreement. So this agreement is an agreement that came about through the Muskoka Emergency Response Coordinators meetings. These are meetings that are had on a monthly basis between myself and other emergency managers in the Muskoka district. This agreement would allow us to share resources in the event of an emergency. And I'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. Committee, are there any questions before I read a resolution? Councillor Edwards and then Councillor Kent.
Does this also, this one doesn't include Seguin. We do have a actual agreement with him as well, do we?
Through the chair to the councillor and to all of committee. Yes, we have an agreement on fire mutual aid with Seguin.
Okay.
We have agreements with all of our surrounding partners in the fire apparatus and shared resources just in the fire department. But this agreement would allow us to share resources within just the district. This would not include Seguin.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kent?
Question was on whether we'd ever had an agreement like this before, or if this was new, and I think it was just answered.
Chief Morrell?
Yeah, through you, Chair, to committee. No, this is a first of its kind for Muskoka. It is pretty common in some other areas in Ontario. And as recently as last week, some resources could have been shared and still can be shared. But this agreement would allow for the flexibility and the scalability of that to happen very rapidly. And with climate change, we do expect emergencies to require staff to make fast decisions on behalf of the community.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Bosemuth?
Thank you. Through you, I'm just a little confused now about the relationship with Seguin. Do we have an agreement with Seguin on just fire?
That's correct. Yeah, through
Yes.
you to committee, we only have an agreement with Seguin on fire. And we also have an agreement with Seguin on automatic aid for certain segments of our area where they are the first primary responder in those areas, much as we are the first responder for them at CNIB. So if committee would like, I can look into the arrangement of us having a similar arrangement just in emergency management functions with Seguin and Perry Sound. I'm not certain as of this time if they have that same arrangement amongst themselves, but oddly enough, this weekend I'll be with most of their emergency managers teaching them up in Perry. So I can ask that question and see if they're working towards one of these agreements.
Thank you. I will read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that the Community Emergency Management Coordinator be authorized to finalize the Muskoka District Emergency Mutual Assistance Agreement as attached as Appendix 1 to Report ES-2024-017, and that the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to execute said agreement. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you. And Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, committee. Today's first report is an update to the Port and Bloom Group for 2025 operations. As committee is aware, at the conclusion of this past season, we received notice from Port and Bloom that they would no longer be able to operate moving forward. As such, committee directed staff to issue a call for members to the community to see if anyone else was interested in taking over those responsibilities. Unfortunately, we did not receive any interest with that. As such, it's of staff's opinion that for 2025, we contract out the required functions of that organization with assistance from staff, of course. Looking at the 2025 operating budget, particularly that of the Community and Blooms groups, staff feel we should be able to maintain the same current level of service with the budgeted funds available. And of course, if there's any changes that come up throughout the year, we can report back to committee and make any adjustments to future budgets as needed. With that, Chair, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Committee, are there any questions before? Okay, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Mr. Moore. So this is becoming more of a trend where people have done work for years are now electing not to. And I can guess at why I think it's happening. But can you, from your position, give any insight why this is happening, that we're not getting volunteers to step up?
Yes, through you, Chair. I don't think it's these groups in particular. I think we're seeing it with a lot of community organizations through lots of different fields. I think it's becoming harder and harder to gain traction on new volunteers with the younger demographics. I think we can all probably come up with reasons as to why, but life is certainly busy nowadays for sure. And what we're seeing with a lot of these groups is, an older aging demographic and a need for some, better succession planning. So I think that's why our Parks and Rec Master Plan in particularly does talk about volunteers and the need to help develop them and work with them. So that's something we need to strive to continue to do or pursue moving forwards.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands, I will read the resolution. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that committee directs staff to contract out the planting and ongoing maintenance of all flowers and gardens in Port Carling as per report PW-2024-051. Any further comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Great, that carries. Thank you, Mr. Moore. I think you are up again.
Yes, just wanted to provide committee with a status update of our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Committee will recall last fall, we developed an implementation strategy for the plan with the intention that staff report back annually just as a status update to keep us on track and see how we're progressing on the initiatives identified within it. Table 1 identifies a quick summary of some of the projects, initiatives that we were able to complete in the first year. Quickly highlighting the Parks and Trails Standards Manual. We were able to complete the arena feasibility study, reviewed governance with our hall boards and attended their meetings and held an annual chair meeting to improve those communication processes. And then we also took a review of a few bylaws and policies that we have, in particularly creating the user fee policy to increase usage at our community centers, facilities, fee bylaw review, and cemetery bylaw updates. Moving into our second year, staff have been able to update the 10-year capital plan with the required projects identified in the master plan. And a quick summary of those can be found in Table 2. You'll notice a lot of those projects already identified in this year's capital plan. Attached as Appendix 1 is the more fulsome implementation strategy itself. All 111 recommendations with a status update on them and notes for committee to review. And of course, if there's ever any questions or any concerns or comments, members of committee and council can certainly reach out to staff at any point, but I am available today for any questions as well, Chair.
Thank you very much. Committee, are there any questions or comments? I think the quality of your report would indicate that there's no questions or comments. Just a quick comment then. Thank you. This kind of reporting actually is from a committee member something I think I really value, which is that we see now some of the work that's happening out in our community, but when we see it pulled together, it kind of validates the approach of having a plan, having an implementation strategy, having resources done internally and doing things thoughtfully. So thank you for you, Mr. Moore, and all of the members of your team who are trying to bring this kind of focus to our community. So thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Any other comments? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I believe the next item on the agenda, item 12A, I believe the mover and seconder have requested that this resolution be withdrawn and that there won't be a discussion. I just want to confirm that with a nod of heads. Okay, great. That's easy. The next one was a discussion item, understanding the weather event procedures and communication protocol. CAO Pink, is that you or? Okay, Councillor Roberts, did you bring this up?
First off, I want to applaud staff for all their work over this little snow bomb we had event and stepping up and helping the community. I did receive Chief Morale phone calls there last week for the wellness checks that the fire services did perform. And this was very well welcomed. And I know within our community, we're going to try to figure out how we can help you, help fire services and maybe identify some of the individuals or individual properties that maybe should be on the priority list for review. So I was just wondering about when I brought this up, whether, I don't know, I think we all probably, we were quite well informed and told what the staff were doing and stuff like that. But I was wondering if I could ask, I don't know who, if they were going to be doing a lessons learned or something from the previous event.
CAO Pink.
Thank you. Yes, through you. Yeah, I think we all learned a lot. That was certainly the first weather event that I've gone through, obviously in my new role. I think, as you noted, staff did communicate through to council and then through to the community as the event progressed. And I commend our staff, the crews outside working and our emergency staff in keeping our community safe, and our communications team in keeping our community informed. We certainly, I think there's an expression, never let a good emergency go to waste. So I think we will meet as a team probably in the next several weeks and go over, again, what we've learned, what went well, what we can improve on in the future. I think that's certainly our intention.
Okay. I will do Councillor Nishikawa, then Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, CAO. I just would ask that on that, if you would consider reaching out to the community leaders that have been identified, specifically maybe, well, the short list would be the hall board chairs, to ask for their input on how it went, and perhaps on suggestions on how we can get ready for the next inevitable weather event or significant event. We have a great emergency plan, but we're just wondering if they would consider that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Through you, essentially what I wanted to, similar to what Gord had just said about the hall boards. Way back when, like less than 5 years ago sort of thing, the hall boards would like, I would use Torrance. We were the first emergency evacuation center. We were the first community center to buy a generator by ourselves. I'm just saying where that community fund would come in, that would be perfect for that. So but I will say that in the past, we actually, the hall board ran the emergency evacuation center. We would go and set up, a team would go in and open it up, and then you just rotate and different things. So it's the same thing, just include the hall boards and see what they can offer. And it's the same with, they also know how their halls function, and can touch on, okay, there's this here for you as well that we have tucked away. So anyhow, again, just including them. Thank you.
Okay, CAO Pink.
Thank you, through you. Certainly, we will take that into consideration. I think just one important thing that I think needs to be noted is that this was not an emergency. We never declared an emergency. I don't want to speak for the fire chief and the mayor, but I don't think we were close to declaring. It was just an event. But our emergency plan does have certain protocols where those events would occur, but we can certainly take those comments into account. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to thank staff for their getting the warming centers open, and that it was really appreciated. But I did know, I believe on our website, they were saying that some of these here had showers. Some of our emergency centers do not have showers, so we should clarify that in the future so that people know. And that, okay. But other than that, a great job by everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? No? Okay. We'll move on to District Muskoka updates. Committee, do we have any questions for any of our district councillors on items on their agendas? I'm not seeing any. I do have one. And I think it is to do with the special district council meeting. I actually just feel like I was not here last month, but I understand there was conversation about the integrated watershed management meeting and attendance, and I think it just warrants a quick update. So not to put you on the spot, Mayor Kelly, but for those of us who were able to attend, just maybe it's on the agenda tomorrow.
Right.
Right. Thank you, Director Baroshi. That's great. So we will wait with bated breath.
I got my microphone.
Okay.
You didn't want to
You
hear
wanna
what I
make
had
a
to say.
comment?
Didn't want to hear what I had to say anyhow.
Okay. Well, yes, I would like to hear what you have to say. And
I
not
would
because-
paint whatever is said tomorrow, but I'll tell you, we did have a meeting. I must tell you, from my perspective, there needs to be some real leadership displayed to move this needle forward, or we have to face the likelihood that people are just getting tired of meeting and frankly accomplishing very little. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Are there any other questions, comments? Community events? Does anybody have anything they want to add? Councillor Nishikawa, Councillor Edwards, Councillor Roberts.
I mostly just wanted to ask that I do have something to say, but not a community event.
Okay, Councillor Edwards.
Yes, Friday evening in Raymond, there's Songs and Strings. It starts at 7 o'clock to 9:30, and that. Everyone donates a toonie and the ladies usually bring goodies. On Saturday, the 14th, Evergreen Pastoral Charge is having a carol sing and a potluck dinner at Raymond Hall. It starts at 4 o'clock. And I believe the community are also having something in Bracebridge. I'd have to check. It's Rennie Cassidy's Theater. There's a concert there as well. So that's my updates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I really need to bring this up as a community event during the special and really directed towards the mayor, and maybe you can pass on to the OPP what happened. And within the Milford Bay community, you know, one of our senior residents is 80 years old, was after the snow bomb, he was going to town and he pulled out his driveway and got his front wheels over the hump on Highway 118. He's a property 118, and he couldn't go forward and he couldn't go back. So before he knew it, there was an OPP cruiser with the lights on, blocking his car. He was not out on the travel portion of the road. So the officer got out of his car and says, "See, you got a bit of problem. I got a shovel. I'll dig you out." So fantastic. I mean, this is, we don't, you know, we know our township staff does this a lot, but the OPP officer went back to his car. He came back and said, "I don't have it." And the individual said, "I've got one." 80 years old. He jumps out to race down and get the shovel and falls down. And he's a larger man. So the OPP officer picked him up, got him off the ground, which is just amazing when I know the gentleman, helped him down and set him in his garage and told him just to wait there. He grabbed his shovel. He went out and cleared the spot and then backed the individual's car back down, said, "Here, your car's down. I suggest maybe you wait before you go to town." And he didn't get the officer's name. But here's another great example. I know our staff do this a lot. I know that in Gravenhurst, all the heroes that went out and helped that convoy. And there's going to be some people in, you know, in all our communities. And that's what the community is all about. And so I hope you could pass that on to, as your role in the OPP board, that this individual, you know, he could have just said, you know, "I'll call a tow truck for you." So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Kelly?
I thank you. That's a terrific story. And before Chief Morales, all right, I'll talk about him when he's not here. What maybe didn't get as well publicized as it could have and should have was the work that our fire service did on Highway 11 in Gravenhurst, outside of our jurisdiction, with our equipment and our personnel. David, you probably know how many hours they were there for all night overnight, just traveling on, on skidoos and Argos and ATVs, whatever they could use to go check on the welfare of everybody who was trapped in a certain segment. So I was really proud to hear that. I got a call from Mayor Lorenz thanking our fire service for the support they got.
Okay. Oh, Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. I just wanted to let committee know we had a Cranberry Festival wrap-up meeting the other evening, and everything, the whole meeting and conversations were what a great success that this year was. But more digging in deeply why it was a success, and it actually is our staff. Mr. Cox had developed even that many more better ways of communicating and making suggestions and how to go forward in the future, which we're really looking forward to, as well as which wasn't the case in the first couple of Cranberry Festivals with our bylaw staff, but this year was, the comments were just glowing with Rob Kennedy and crew. So I just wanted to pass that on because it was all just very, very positive, and the helpfulness. And actually the bigger thing was there seemed to be a more of an understanding with the staff of how important this festival is to Muskoka Lakes. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna, okay, keep going.
And I just want to bring Chief Morale into this conversation and just say that we heard raving reviews from the mayor of our township and the mayor of Graveners on the terrific job that you and your staff did on Highway 11. So thank you.
This is a nice feel-good meeting. I way to end it. I think I think the time will come for this debrief, but I think acknowledging the entire group as it becomes interesting in a small community to understand sometimes our roles between being a council member and staff and the public, and our job is to stay out of the way and let staff actually do what they're the best at. And that can be kind of uncomfortable sometimes because I think there's an interest always of being involved. I know I've felt that. And there are two other groups. I didn't receive one complaint about the roads. And given the level of snow, these are kind of our quiet heroes that just go about their business all the time. The operations team. And, I suspect most of us kind of quietly and behind the scenes have been acknowledging their hard efforts, but it would go, I can't let that group not know publicly how grateful we have been for the leadership that their team have shown and helped our community through this. So Nick, if you could please expand that or extend that to the rest of your group. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, just before, and then the other group, and I don't know if our communications officer is in here, but there's some very real challenges in the world of communications and getting information out and appropriately in the right time. There's a Canada Post strike, getting things out and understood into the community with the right message at the right time. I can assure you if there's a role that works 24/7 quietly and behind the scenes that people probably have no understanding. There was a number of interviews that Mayor Kelly was participating in, and I don't think he just does that on his own. I suspect that he has a few conversations in behind the scenes in preparing for those types of things. So the leadership from yourself, your worship, and from the communications group, I think also needs to be noted in these types of situations. So thank you to, I guess, all your team. I wasn't planning to do that, but I feel like it really needs to be said that for your first event, that, there's some really good things. So thank you.
Is there a form online we can apply for a raise?
Okay. Sorry, Chief Morale.
I just want to echo as well what you just mentioned about the communications department and how crucially important it is in an emergency to give people information so they don't try to go seek it. So our communications department was instrumental in making sure that we shared the right message at the right time. And roads is really, this is an echo of what happened the last time We had a winter event up here. Roads saved us when Huntsville got swamped, and roads saved us this time. And I can tell you for a fact, I was driving around the whole area, that our area was passable thanks to the heavy work and the endless hours that group, I understand they've worked for almost 21 days straight. So it's a pretty good testament to this group, saying that we should do our jobs. And one further note about what we did on Highway 11, we could not have done that if this group, I look around the room here, the majority of the councillors here are the reason that we have the devices that we were able to share to do the work that we did on Highway 11. We're one of the few fire services that owns ATVs with tracks on it. And this group supported that purchase. And I want to thank you for that work, because that's not easy to support purchases that are anomalous. They're not normal for a fire service. So that work helped save our neighbor. And as we speak right now, we're on a mutual aid call in Bracebridge, helping a neighbor with the drone that this group also supported, in helping that neighbor understand what's going on in a wood chip pile. So there's that work that occurs on a regular basis, and it only happens because you support us. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, I think that's a wonderful way to close out 2024. It is 2024, right? General Finance Committee. I will have one more resolution. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Am I? No? Okay. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that this meeting adjourn at thank you. I needed that help today. 10:56 a.m. and the next regular meeting of the General Finance Committee will be held on Wednesday, January 15th at 2025 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the chair electronically from the council chambers, municipal office in Port Carling, Ontario. All those in favor? That carries. We will see everyone at 1 p.m. for our, pardon me? Just delay. We will see everyone at 1 p.m. and enjoy a longer lunch today. Thank you.